Good morning and welcome to Verdict 2013 as we are all gathered here to discuss about the polling and how the results are coming in, the leads, the trends. With me we have some eminent journalists. We have on the right Suman Chakravarti, a senior journalist from Delhi. We have Ratnadeep Chaudhary, Chief of Bureau Tehelka, and we have Rajnish Mishra, and I'm very own Saidul with you at this hour. So we'll start with Meghalaya, Tripura and Nagaland and all the elections. But before we discuss all the states, I would like to put my question to Suman. How do you see this election results and how it affects in the national perspective? Because when we come to Northeast, like the result hardly matters in center. Parliament election is 15 months away. How do you look at these results?
Well, the big takeaway from this results, I think, is that across the country, whenever we talk about elections, whenever we go to other states, the first thing that those dreaded words that comes for any government in power is anti-incumbency. I think this particular election, all the three states, that is not a factor. And that, I think, was one of the biggest takeaway, because it seems whatever the trends were during the polling process, what we have seen is that Tripura almost given that Manik Sarkar's government, the left front, will come back to power. Meghalaya, Mukul Sangma has done very well. I mean, Meghalaya, given the fact that so many chief ministers have changed in, since the time the state was formed, I think 44 chief ministers, if I'm not mistaken, Meghalaya seems to be bucking the trend in the sense that, it seems that Mukul Sangma has done the people of the state have taken to him in terms of giving consistency to their political process. Nagaland obviously is a complicated state, not because of anything else, but Nagaland, so many factors have worked together, all push and pull factors in terms of insurgency, in terms of the militants asking to boycott the elections. But then NPF, Rio's party has done well. I mean, they have, they have, it seems that they will, come up with a majority. Don't know whether they need an alliance right now or not. The results will be coming, I think, thick and fast in the next 2 hours. That will tell a different story.
I think just the counting has started, so by 9 we'll have the trends and the leads and we'll be able to analyze the permutation and combination which can take place. But one interesting factor, if we talk about Meghalaya to start with, as you just mentioned, Mukul Sangma's government has been really doing good, but we also know that Meghalaya is an unstable state where we have seen fractured mandate. Only the first government have lasted for 5 years, that is Captain Williamson Sangma's government. Other than that, we have seen like there were like 2-3 governments in one term. So now seeing into that perspective, and now we have P.A. Sangma, who has recently resigned from NCP and floated the NPP. You have covered elections in Meghalaya, you have met Mukul Sangma there, you've spoken. So what is the general feel you see from your perspective, Ratnadeep, the impact of P.A. Sangma coming to the foray in Garo Hills, or so to say in Meghalaya?
Well, P.A. Sangma always is a huge factor in Meghalaya elections, or Meghalaya politics. He is perhaps the tallest man in Meghalaya politics. He has been part of that movement for statehood in Meghalaya. So you cannot write off P.A. Sangma. But one important factor in this election were that P.A. Sangma went into this election with a new party, the NPP, and he did not get much time to take his party to his core constituency, his strongholds of Garo Hills, to the rural areas in Garo Hills. He didn't have that much of time in terms of taking this message that he is no more
in terms of popularizing the party.
Yeah.
And not just that, I think, Ratnadeep, one more point. I mean, I started off talking about Meghalaya, talking about, I think, Mukul Sangma, and that might have been a sacrilege about a few years back, because you cannot talk about Meghalaya, but for the right Sangma, as they say, P.A. Sangma. So, I mean, Purno Sangma, but what has happened, as he pointed out, one thing is very important, is that Meghalaya, if you see Purno Sangma overall in a national perspective, what we have seen is his stocks have come down bit by bit. His son Conrad has not been able to match his charisma or his political the lineage is there, but does he have it in him to succeed in politics? Will he only be somebody who would bank on his father's name to do politics? That is more important.
Absolutely.
also Agatha Sangma, is she interested in politics in the state, or she wants to be in Delhi and do her politics like her father did at a later stage in his career? So that is important, I think.
Like looking about Meghalaya, what interest, like as a national perspective, which I want to get from you, because the audience would like to know, because Ratnadeep is one person who has visited Garo Hills and he knows the plight of the region, and Sangma's claim about development which he makes, that he has done so much in Garo Hills, but except when he was a Minister for Information Broadcasting, that he has this all India radio stations, around 3 in the entire Garo Hills belt and 1 Doordarshan Tura. Of course, it's not a state headquarter, but you still have the Doordarshan Center, which is there. Other than that, there is not much visible impact, which many will say. In fact, I am from that part of the region, and I personally have seen elections and covered election, and I know that. But today, if we are talking about Meghalaya, and you're saying that P.A. Sangma's charisma is there, how the national media, when they talk about P.A. Sangma or his charisma, how do they, look at him as a person who have done something for Garo Hills, or as a person who has done for this nation as a whole?
But nationally, P.A. Sangma still retains a lot of respect. I mean, he was the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. All that factors pulled in together. He tried to fight for the president's post, opposed Pranab Mukherjee after a long time. We had a fight. I mean, usually presidents are chosen in India by consensus. Here, obviously, there was a fight. He went to the court and all that. He went out from Sharad Pawar's party, the NCP. So obviously, what would be interesting is how Sangma does, as Ratnadeep was pointing out, how Sangma does in terms of floating a new party and what that new party can achieve. Because as he was rightly pointing out, did he have enough time to go to Meghalaya, tell the people, tell his voters, his vote bank, that this is my new party? Because as you said, communication systems in Meghalaya are not exactly, we are, in India we say that we are living in an age of social media. I'm not very sure whether Meghalaya lives in a state of social media. So, I mean, obviously
it's slowly coming up, but I think
Ratnadeep can, what you said about development in terms of Purno Sangma claiming to be, you have seen the two tallest leaders of Congress coming, the Prime Minister of the country and Sonia Gandhi coming, and say it is the most one of the fastest developing states. I don't know what development means. So Ratnadeep can possibly explain, because
Guwahati seem to be developing. Yesterday, in fact, I was discussing with somebody, I think Yogendra Sharma was here in our studio, I was talking about Assam is, in terms of infrastructure, it's developing, but he said, kahan ka development hai, kuch to dikhta nahi yahan pe. I think Rajnish will have something to add on this.
योगेंद्र यादव ने कहा था इस पर, ये एक सतत प्रक्रिया है, लंबी प्रक्रिया है, और डेवलपमेंट का जो है वो शगुफा छोड़ा जाता है अक्सर चुनावों के दरमियान. लेकिन जो अगर आप पूरी परिभाषा देखें कि विकास हो रहा है, तो आप लोगों का जो स्टैंडर्ड है, जिस तरह से रह रहे हैं लोग, धीरे धीरे उनका परचेजिंग पावर बढ़ रहा है, उससे भी कयास लगाया जा सकता है. जो मेन सेंटर है, अगर आप असम की बात कर रहे हैं तो गुवाहाटी का डेवलपमेंट से
मैं आपको एक चीज साफ साफ बता दूं, परचेजिंग पावर की आप बात करते हैं, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के जितने स्टेट्स हैं, और आज के तारीख पे जो 3 स्टेट्स का चुनाव का नतीजा आने वाले, उसमें से 2 स्टेट्स नागालैंड और मेघालय, इसमें मिडिल क्लास या अपर मिडिल क्लास का परचेजिंग पावर देश के कई बड़े राज्यों से सदैव इट हैज बीन मोर, ज्यादा रहा है. सो उसमें क्योंकि देखिए, टैक्सेस जब नहीं देना पड़ता है ना, बहुत सारे चीज़ों में जो आकलन हम लोग लगाते हैं, वो शायद दिल्ली में बैठ के लगाया नहीं जा सकता है, लेकिन वो होता है. तो उसको लेके बहस करना एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी कर सकता है, लेकिन जिनको फैक्ट स्टैटिस्टिक्स पता है, उनको पता है कि उनका परचेजिंग पावर ज्यादा रहा है. ये कोई नई बात नहीं है.
सिर्फ असम को अगर आप देखते हैं तो सिर्फ गुवाहाटी से आप आकलन नहीं कर सकते, मेघालय सिर्फ शिलोंग से आकलन नहीं कर सकते. तो ये जो देख रहे हैं सिर्फ उस पर्सपेक्टिव में देख रहे हैं कि शिलोंग में डेवलपमेंट दिख रहा है या असम में गुवाहाटी में डेवलपमेंट दिख रहा है.